Hi, I'm Shawna Brown, Mandelbaum Barrett in our elder law department, and today I'm so excited to have with me Trish Barbosa from Peace Aging Care Experts. Hi, Trish.
Hi, Shawna.
The reason that I wanted to talk to Trish was an important topic that's been in the news a lot lately. There's been a lot of media attention given to Bruce Willis, who spent decades playing a tough guy that never backed down and always fought the bad guys. And now he's fighting a different fight. He has been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, which is a progressive brain disorder. And his wife has been both lauded and chastised for her very difficult decision to move Bruce from their family home to a separate home for him to receive care. I'm here with Trish today to talk about what's going on with Bruce and kind of understanding his wife's decision and kind of flesh that out. So in our practice here at Mandelbaum Barrett, we often help families who have a loved one with a cognitive condition. Oftentimes that's dementia or a form of dementia. And sometimes someone has just been diagnosed and we're able to help them by doing a power of attorney or a living will. So they can name a decision maker to help them when their condition declines and they can no longer make their own decisions. Sometimes a family comes to us and someone has already declined quite a bit and cannot make their own decisions any longer. They don't have the capacity to do that. And then we help those families by seeking the appointment of a guardian for that person so they have a decision maker. But often, as I know Trish knows, the appointment of a decision maker is just the beginning. And there are a lot of other non-legal issues that are related to their housing, their care, their treatment, and they have to be addressed. And they can be really overwhelming, more overwhelming even than the legal matter. So as attorneys, we connect these families with a geriatric care manager like Trish. And they help families manage the complex health and life needs of their loved ones by assessing, planning, and coordinating services. So, Trish, tell me, as a care manager, tell me more about services that you would offer to a family like Bruce's to support them.
Sure. At my agency, all of our care managers have a clinical background. They're either medical social workers, nurses, physical therapists, and occupational therapists. But no matter what discipline we come from, we all do the same job. And our job essentially is to be knowledgeable about different disease processes. Certainly, we know a lot about dementia because most of our clients are over the age of 65. Many of them are much higher over the age of 65. And so a great amount of our clients do have dementia. So we're very familiar with the disease process, what to expect so that we can prepare families, we can support families. It's our job to have resources to help them address what their loved ones are going to need. And we come up with plans of care that are affordable and sustainable based on each family's resources to pay for care.
So tell me more about Bruce Willis's specific condition. Most of us know what dementia is, but what exactly is frontotemporal dementia? How does that differ from other types
Yeah.
of dementia?
So frontotemporal dementia, dementia is like a generic term of Alzheimer's and other kinds. So this is a form of dementia, and just like the name says, it affects the frontal part of the brain and the temporal part of the brain. It's this part, which is really kind of where your personality lives. And a lot of times, people with frontotemporal dementia don't have a loss of memory, at least in the beginning. There are three different kinds of frontotemporal lobe dementia. One is a behavioral variant, and those are really challenging issues to deal with because people can behave very strangely and it's very difficult to manage that, although we've done it. What Bruce has is he has primary progressive aphasia. So he lost language. And I did read his wife, Emma Hemming's book, and she said he just became kind of aloof. She thought he was upset with her, or she thought there was something happening in the marriage. But what it was with the aphasia, he wasn't able to really understand what people were saying to him. So he had trouble following a conversation. And he also eventually lost his own speech. So he can't receive information normally and he can't speak normally. So from what I understand now, he's nonverbal.
So other than you mentioned, that he's nonverbal and that he was kind of aloof towards his spouse, are there other kinds of behavioral changes that are associated with frontotemporal dementia?
For sure there are. Disinhibition is one of them, and that is when somebody kind of loses their filter. I had a client one time who had, we call it FTD for short, and she was living at an assisted living and went out to a Walgreens just kind of on a field trip with other people, and she bought a disposable camera and started taking photos of people that worked there, which made them very uncomfortable. It was just sort of odd. Somebody with FTD might invade your personal space because they kind of lose that ability to understand that maybe they're getting too close. They kind of lose sympathy and empathy for people. And you might be in a bank and somebody with FTD might just walk in front of you in line and not even think about it. They really kind of just become unaware of their surroundings. That's really common to all of the different types of FTD.
So it sounds like this can be a pretty challenging condition. And, how do these behaviors and the condition overall impact the loved ones of the people who are dealing with it?
Caring for anyone with dementia is a challenge. Another sad truth about FTD is that it generally hits people younger. It can hit someone in their 50s and 60s like it did for Bruce Willis. So because because their cognition is different. A lot of people with FTD don't have good safety awareness, so they might leave the house. So that's a special challenge for families to keep someone in the house and keep them safe. It can affect sleep. A lot of times people with FTD get very, very agitated with too much stimulation, which can be a real challenge too, especially in this family's case, because Bruce and his wife Emma have two young daughters where there's a lot of noise going on and probably dancing through the living room, and that it can irritate and really begin to agitate someone with FTD. They really do much better with a calmer, more structured kind of care environment.
So that segues into my next question that I had for you, which is, Bruce's family it's really been considered kind of a controversial decision to move him from their family home into a separate, like, one-story home to receive care. So what is your opinion on that decision?
Well, I will tell you, I am a huge advocate for sharing the care. Being a caregiver for someone with dementia, no matter what kind of dementia they have, is a really, really tough job, especially if they don't sleep well, you're not getting sleep at night. A lot of caregivers wind up putting off their own medical care because they're caring for their loved one. I know from reading her book that Emma was saying that the decision was based on two things. One is what was best for her children, and the other one was what was best for her husband, and both equally important. So, for the daughters, she didn't want them to have to miss out on having friends sleeping over or being able to get to dance class or athletics or things like that. And she was tied up as the caregiver caring for Bruce that whole time. On the other side, all of that activity was very difficult for him to manage, and he would become agitated and confused because he doesn't really understand what's going on. So my personal opinion was that I feel she did the absolute right thing, and it was right for her family. So now I understand Bruce is living in a single floor home with caregivers 24/7. The family gets to visit him, and he still recognizes them, although he doesn't have speech. He seems to recognize them and enjoys having them come for visits. And then when they leave, he has a nice quiet environment and a nice structured life. So it's best for him. And it sounds like it's best for the family and the children as well. And it also gives his wife a break from having to be the full-time caregiver for her husband and also caring for her young children.
Right. Definitely sounds like it was a good decision for their family. And, obviously Bruce Willis is a famous actor and he has the means to have a separate one-story home. Most families don't have that and can't just move a loved one into a different house, nearby. So let's say a family who doesn't have that option, is still looking for ways to support care. What kinds of features in a home or modifications would be necessary to help support someone in a condition like Bruce's?
Sure. It all kind of depends on what that particular person's needs are. But generally speaking, you want to make sure that it's a place where the person is not able to wander away. So sometimes people will put door alarms and turn them on at night so that while everyone's sleeping, if their loved one gets up and tries to leave the house, someone is aware or made aware. Grab bars in the shower, a lot of time dementia affects body function, balance, coordination, that kind of thing. So grab bars in the shower or shower chairs are important. I know so many clients of mine love their area rugs, but truly they are trip hazards for someone who has mobility issues, and they really should all be lifted. And if the family if it really breaks their heart to remove those rugs, what I usually recommend is that they double sticky tape them to the floor all the way around the edges, which doesn't take away the risk, but it reduces the risk a little bit of it lifting. Good lighting is really important because a lot of the dementias affect vision. In fact, one of the things that was recommended to Bruce's wife was to put a black toilet seat on the toilet because the contrast makes it easier for him to aim.
Okay.
When his vision's not so great. Also, you want to have medications absolutely locked up and only taken out at the right dosing times. There's also the option for assisted living facilities and memory care, which has a different set of requires different set of financial resources, but that's also a possibility where you have trained staff who know how to care for someone who has needs related to dementia.
Those are some great tips. I don't think those are things that, you wouldn't necessarily, I think lighting is obvious, but area rugs and a toilet, that's
Yeah.
not something you would necessarily think of. So I think those are great tips. So if someone like Bruce is staying in the community, not going into, assisted living or a nursing home, what kind of care team do they need?
24/7 care. So that can be achieved a couple of different ways. It can sometimes families do a combination where they have aides coming in on an hourly basis for so many hours a day, and the family covers the rest. Sometimes families hire aides who actually live in the home, which I believe is what is happening with Bruce Willis. And the nice thing about having a live-in home health aide is you never have to worry about the aide not showing up for work because her car broke down or her child got sick. I mean, they live with the person 24/7. They're not awake 24/7. So that's why other safeguards need to be in place to make sure that maybe, Bruce doesn't get up and try to leave the house. So there are different ways to do that. So you can do a combination of hourly home health aides, live-in home health aides, and family. But the bottom line is 24/7 supervision is really needed.
Yeah, that definitely seems like it's necessary. Well, Trish, thank you so much for helping describe the situation. I think a lot of people watch the news and think, oh, they moved him out of the house, and they think that's, something difficult. But I think when you look at the whole situation, it really does make sense. Here at Mandelbaum Barrett, we help families a lot with their legal concerns. And like I said at the beginning, that's often just the beginning. A guardianship, being power of attorney, it's not a magic wand to just magically solve all the problems. But the good news is that there are care managers like Trish and her team out there at Peace Aging Care Experts who can come up with plans to help with situations like this, so that not only do you have the legal authority you need, but you also have a plan in place to help your loved one and, live out their remaining years, with dignity and safety and as much joy as possible. So
that's exactly right. That's always our goal. And we're here to help families. We're on call 24/7 for emergencies. And we love what we do. We love what we do.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Trish. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot today, and it's always great to talk to you.
Thank you. You as well.